a designer of the Scalable City project, which is a virtual world art project. And tonight he's going to address art, culture, and speculation. So please welcome Dr. Sheldon Brown.
I direct a research center at UCSD called the Center for Research in Computing and the Arts, which is a part of this research institute called the California Institute of Information Technology and Telecommunications that I was one of the co-founders of. And within that research institution, I run an experimental game lab and a new NSF Center for hybrid multi-core computing. And I guess that's because that's kind of what it takes to be an artist these days. You have to have lots of kind of acronyms behind your name to do the kinds of work that I do, which are kind of generally looking at this relationship between art, speculation, and invention. And so I'll talk a little bit about some kind of general concepts behind it and then talk about this Scalable City project. So, you know, as an artist, I'm interested in trying to make 21st century culture. What is the new cultural modes that are relevant to articulating and understanding the 21st century condition. And for me, it involves this kind of interplay between analysis, technology, and creativity. And in part of this is because culture is now a Moore's Law condition. You know, now that we've moved most of cultural production and dissemination onto digital technologies, that underlying arc, that underlying kind of capability of how we produce and disseminate culture is essentially, you know, twice as powerful every 18 months. And so what does that do to culture? It really radically destabilizes it. It really shifts on how we can understand what culture is and how we produce effective new insights with this ever-changing, ever-shifting condition. You know, it took us a long time to figure out how to paint on caves and chip stones, and you know, and we were able to live with that and evolve as humans and evolve our culture for, you know, tens of thousands of years with that. And even in the 20th century, we started to invent things like cinema, and over a course of maybe generations, a generation or two, we developed ways in which that medium could tell effective stories. Now, you know, we're radically shifting this. So every few years, we reinvent new cultural forms. So how do we work with this as an artist? And I'll just skip some of this. And so there are a few kind of rubrics that I would kind of lay out there that are important to kind of give us a little bit of a leading edge, because we haven't figured this out yet. But I think one rubric would be visualization. And when you think about visualization, I'm referring really specifically to how it's developed as a field in science, so scientific visualization. And it makes a very kind of particular relationship to how it creates cultural forms, and that is that it takes data, it uses algorithms, and users kind of are continuing making new relationships between different data sets with this use of algorithms. So this produces multiple cultural forms. And this is a very different way in which we kind of think about making culture than, say, we did previous to this time, where we, you know, kind of got all of our materials together, got our source materials, had our methods, and produced a single output. Now we kind of are producing kind of ever-changing relationships that we allow users to kind of be the final point of articulation. And computer games are an excellent example of how this plays out. And additionally, computer games add this new dimension in that they're not just kind of an expressive form, but they're also a social form. So now we're starting to have our cultural forms operate as social realms. So what I see myself doing as an artist is I'm actually kind of engaging in cultural research. And another kind of idea that I kind of think about what's at stake in this cultural research is that our cultural forms not only have to kind of reflect upon who we are at this particular moment, but they have to actually start to being more anticipatory. You know, as our modes of science and technology themselves become more powerful and more effective and more transformational to the world, we actually need the insights of culture and the analysis that the kind of humanistic traditions provide to allow us to kind of think through what kind of world are these highly effective sciences and technologies actually creating. So our culture doesn't just kind of want to be like, the expression of the world at the moment, but it wants to kind of think about the world that is to come. And that's something that I think has been occurring in this nascent field of digital media art that's kind of come into existence over the last decade or so. And so as I said, I kind of explore this both as an artist and as this institutional director directing this research center at UCSD, which is a part of this research institute, Cal IT2, and within that running this game lab. And so a project that I'll go into in a little detail here is this project, The Scalable City. And I'll give a plug. This is a version of this project is opening this Saturday at the La Jolla Museum of Contemporary Art. So come by there this summer. But the underlying idea behind this project is to kind of thinking about the world that we're living in and recognizing that that the world we live in is becoming more and more a situation of kind of software systems. That the lives that we live are input into, or we create data just by living in the world that's input into computer systems, and the world that that's around us is the result of output of these computer systems. So the way in which infrastructure in cities is controlled, the way in which everything that we touch is kind of designed via computer mechanisms. So our lives are kind of input and output of algorithmic systems. And so thinking about that as an artist, I'm like thinking, well, there's probably some good things about that, probably some not so good things about it if we're not aware of it. So how can I kind of engage with my work, a way to kind of increase kind of awareness of that situation? And so I've created this project called The Scalable City that actually works across many different media. There's digital prints, there's a very high fidelity digital movie, multi-screen installations, animations, this thing called machinima, which I can explain later, and gaming environments. And the gaming environment is massively multiplayer online virtual world. So the digital prints kind of take satellite imagery and look for patterns in it and kind of take and recompose cityscapes based on patterns that are found in that imagery from kind of fairly simple things. And this is a set of stills from a movie that you won't see right now. But the underlying structure of it is it kind of takes a pipeline of assets from the real world. So for instance, satellite imagery, and this is actually in our local neighborhood. This is like the 5 and the 52 intersection there, University City. And so then I take a height map from that, and I use that. I apply a patterned algorithm to it. In this case, I take that height map and cut, copy, and paste it in rotations, and I make a new landscape from that. Then I kind of examine that landscape with different algorithms to try and find places where I can grow a city. And then I grow roads into that city using algorithms that have been developed to simulate plant growth. And so it's this thing called an L system, and around that L system, those L system roads, I develop lots, and then those lots are populated with assets, architectural fragments, automobiles, things that are taken from human culture but are processed by computer vision algorithms. So I take a bunch of pictures of things, and then I use this kind of photogrammetry, automatic shape extraction from these photographs. And that shape extraction algorithm, it's kind of so-so. But I like the kind of so-so that it produces because it's not meant to it kind of shows it leaves an algorithmic artifact behind. It kind of shows that this is like something that's going through a computer process. And it's tagged with metadata, because then I apply behavior to it in a bit. And then from that, I produced both these installations, these games, and these cinema pieces that are composed from that same kind of data processing pipeline. And here's where I would show a movie, and maybe I'll show it a little bit and hold my mic over the sound for just a sec, if I can find it. Doesn't seem to work. But I'll just talk about it while it's happening. So this is kind of showing that pipeline of data coming in from a real world, turning into this virtual landscape, and then this kind of network of roads being grown into that environment. And there's a wonderful soundtrack that goes along with this. That you can download this movie from my website and watch it, and then you start to introduce these elements. But I'll just show this for another second, and then I'll skip ahead. So you can see there are these photogrammatically derived architectural fragments, and they kind of populate this landscape for a moment, and I'll let it go to the kind of big climax here. I wish I could play the sound. So then as you're moving through this environment, there's these tornadoes of automobiles that are continuously spewing from the road into the atmosphere. And those tornadoes throw this debris field of architectural fragments into the air, and then they attract each other there's little kind of algorithms in each house piece that tells it how to find other like house pieces and how to try and reassemble into architectural structures. And we've made it this far, so and so in the end of the game or the movie state, the world kind of goes from this less ordered state to this more ordered state, but the order that it kind of articulates is like much more perverse than the order that we find, or perhaps it's more perverse. I guess that's up to you to decide. But every aspect of the familiar has now gone through this algorithmic pipeline, and it's come out the other end with significant traces of that algorithmic artifact embedded in the structure of the world. So now in the and so this has been shown. It's a project that's developed over time, and it develops iteratively. And I've shown it kind of all over the world at and science museums in various places. And it's actually quite interesting. Some places where I show it, like I showed it in Warsaw, and it was at their National Art Gallery, and so all the government ministers are there, and one of the ministers for the interior just loved the project so much. He thought it was like a design plan for Warsaw suburbs, and I just was like, oh my God, this is really gone awry. I would fly into Warsaw the next time and see these cities. But it's shown in museums in these kind of with very large displays, and in the game, the user, you actually control one of those tornadoes. So you're like one of those. Your avatar is basically a tornado, and you're driving it through the landscape, kind of causing this world to transform around you. Now, the other aspect of this is to make that work. it really requires a lot of kind of significant computing innovation. So initially, I have these kind of ideas about this, and I look for kind of easy ways to implement the algorithms. But then in order to get, and so use a lot of open source pipelines to build a kind of software structure to do this. But over time, Moore's law kind of stopped proceeding in the way that we hoped, where it was very easy. Processors just got twice as fast every 18 months or so. And as I said, culture's kind of tied to Moore's law. So when Moore's law kind of, took a change, it was a big problem for what I was expecting to accomplish in my work. But what happened instead is we got this kind of multi-core architecture thing that happened about 5 or 6 years ago. And so started taking the different parts of this scalable city computational pipeline and parallelizing it so it could run, so it could take advantage of this. And so it means kind of really rewriting how visualization software works. But doing that has allowed us to take this work and do some very kind of extraordinary things. Like what you just saw was a kind of movie version of it. And now the way it's computed is I use a lot of different specialized compute accelerators, so I can compute these landscape transformations, the physics system in real time. And I'm going to skip that video. And it allows for the environments now to be far more complex. I'll just show this video, which is about 20 seconds. So now it's become from a single city to a world of cities. And this is from the interactive game. And we went from a few hundred objects to tens of thousands of objects in this parallel compute accelerated world. And it goes from a single user to many hundreds of users to build these worlds at the same time. And I can actually play a demo on the computer here, but I am already down to 1 minute to go, so I won't do that. And but now there's this far more complicated back end to support this massively multiplayer online world of this. There's a mainframe computer that sits at the San Diego Supercomputer Center that does all of the coherency computation of the virtual world. There are these compute servers, both general purpose GPUs as well as these cell processors that compute the physics off of that. I won't talk about that. And then I will just leave with saying, again, opening Saturday at the Museum of Contemporary Art in La Jolla, so hope you can come by and play the game. Thanks.